Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into one of history's coldest nightmares, a place where ambition froze solid, where men climbed toward fortune and found only ice, where the golden stairs led not to riches, but to a white hell that swallowed hope whole. Before we start, dim the lights if you can, maybe pull a blanket close, because where we're going, the cold doesn't just bite, it devours. The wind doesn't just blow, it screams. And the mountain doesn't just stand, it judges every soul foolish enough to challenge it. Drop your city and the time you're watching this in the comments. I love knowing who else is awake during these quiet hours, listening to stories of people who walked into the frozen unknown. Now, close your eyes for just a moment. Feel the warmth of where you are, the comfort of your bed or couch. Remember that feeling. Because you're about to lose it. You wake up in Seattle. It's July 1897 and the streets are exploding with madness. The steamship Portland has just docked, and the men stumbling down its gangplank carry something that makes hearts pound and hands shake. Gold. Not stories of gold, not rumours, but actual gleaming chunks of it. One man has $60,000 worth stuffed in leather satchels. Another has it in old fruit crates. A third man, too weak to carry his own fortune, hires boys to haul it for him. The word spreads like fire through dry timber. Gold. In the Klondike. In Canada's frozen Yukon territory. Mountains of it. Just lying there in creek beds, waiting to be scooped up by anyone brave enough or desperate enough to go get it. You're standing on the dock, watching this parade of sudden wealth, and your stomach twists with something dangerous. Want. Pure, aching want. You work in a factory, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for wages that barely keep your family fed. Your hands are calloused, your back aches, and your future looks exactly like your present, stretching out grey and unchanging until you die. But now, watching these men, watching their gold, you feel something crack open inside you. What if? Listen to the sound of the crowd around you. Voices rising, excited, desperate. Men shouting questions. When do ships leave? How much does passage cost? Where exactly is this Klondike place? The air smells like fish and coal smoke and something else now, the sharp metallic scent of possibility. You're going. You decide it right there, standing on those damp wooden planks, seagulls screaming overhead. You don't care that you've never been north. You don't care that you can't find the Yukon on a map. You don't care that winter in the Arctic is 6 months of darkness and cold that can kill a man in minutes. You're going to get your gold. Here's what you don't know yet. What none of the 25,000 dreamers flooding north know. The journey to the Klondike will kill more men than the goldfields ever enrich. The mountain pass you'll have to cross, the Chilkoot Pass, will become a graveyard of frozen hopes. And you, standing there with gold fever burning in your chest, are about to learn what true cold really means. Within 2 weeks, you've sold everything you own. Your furniture, your wife's jewellery, the pocket watch your father gave you. You scraped together enough money for steamship passage north and the supplies you'll need. The Canadian authorities have a rule. To enter the Yukon territory, you must bring 1 year's worth of supplies, £2,000 of food and equipment per person. This isn't cruelty. It's an attempt to prevent starvation in a land where nothing grows and help is 500 miles away. Your £2,000 includes £1,500 of flour, £400 of bacon, £100 of beans, £25 of coffee, £50 of dried fruit, £12 of salt, £8 of baking powder, £50 of sugar, £25 of rice, £15 of tea, and dozens of other items. You need tools, shovels, picks, saws, axes. You need clothing, wool shirts, wool socks, wool everything, because cotton will soak through and freeze you dead. You need rope, canvas, matches, candles, cooking pots, a stove, a tent. You stare at the pile of supplies on the dock. It's taller than you are. It weighs more than a small horse. And somehow, you're supposed to carry all of it over a mountain pass so steep that parts of it require climbing nearly straight up. The ship leaves in the morning. You barely sleep. The voyage north takes 9 days. You stand at the rail, watching the coastline change from the green forests of Washington to the stark mountains of southeast Alaska. The water turns colder, darker. Icebergs drift past like frozen ghosts. You arrive in Dyea, Alaska on August 15th, 1897. Dyea isn't a town. Not really. It's an explosion of canvas and timber, thrown up almost overnight on a muddy beach at the head of a long inlet. 6 months ago, 20 people lived here. Now there are thousands and more arrive every day. Tents crowd every flat space. The beach is a chaos of crates and barrels and piles of supplies. Listen to the sound of it all. Hammers pounding, men shouting, dogs barking, the constant scrape and splash of small boats ferrying supplies from ships to shore. The air smells like wet canvas, horse manure and wood smoke. And underneath it all, a sharper smell, the salt and stone smell of the mountains waiting just beyond the tree line. You hire Indian packers, Tlingit men who've been carrying loads over the Chilkoot Pass for generations, to help move your supplies from the beach to the start of the trail. They quote you a price. You try to haggle. They don't budge. You pay. One of the packers, a man with a weathered face and eyes that have seen this madness before, looks at your pile of goods and asks a question in careful English. "You really going over?" "Yes," you say. He doesn't respond, just shoulders his pack, 60 pounds more than most men can carry, and starts walking. You follow. The first 5 miles aren't bad. The trail from Dyea follows the Dyea River through dense forest. Spruce and hemlock tower overhead, their branches dripping with moss. The ground is muddy but mostly level. You pass other stampeders, that's what people are calling themselves now, stampeders, all hauling supplies in relay. The system is simple. Carry your load forward a mile, cache it, walk back empty, get another load, repeat. Again and again and again. 30 loads, 30 miles forward, 29 miles back. For every mile your supplies move, you walk nearly 60. Your first day, you manage 3 trips. Your shoulders are raw from the pack straps. Your legs shake. You collapse in your tent that night and sleep like the dead. Here's a historical fact you should know. The Tlingit people controlled this pass for hundreds of years. They used it as a trade route, carrying furs and goods between the coast and the interior. They defended it fiercely. White men weren't allowed through until the 1880s, and even then, only because the Tlingit realized they could make more money as packers than as gatekeepers. Now, in 1897, they're watching thousands of white men flood north. They're being paid well for their labour, yes. But they know what you don't, that most of these men will fail, that the mountain will break them. You spend a week getting your supplies to Finnegan's Point, 5 miles up the trail. This is where the Dyea River stops being easily navigable by canoe, where stampeders who came by water rejoin those who walked. There's a small collection of tents here. Someone's selling coffee at outrageous prices. Someone else is sharpening saws and axes for a fee. Everything costs 10 times what it should, but you're trapped. You pay. The trail gets worse from here. From Finnegan's Point to Canyon City, another 3 miles up the trail. The path enters a narrow canyon where the Dyea River roars through a crack in the mountains. The trail clings to the canyon wall, sometimes just a narrow ledge of mud and rock hundreds of feet above the water. When it rains, and it rains constantly, the trail becomes a river of mud. Men slip, horses fall, equipment tumbles down into the gorge and is lost forever. You hear the sound of the river constantly now, a low, grinding roar that drowns out conversation. Feel the spray when you pass close to the water. Cold. So cold your fingers go numb even in August. One afternoon, you're hauling a load up a particularly steep section when the man ahead of you loses his footing. His pack, maybe 80 pounds of flour and bacon, swings him sideways. For a horrible moment, you think he's going over the edge. He catches himself on a tree root, hangs there gasping, then slowly pulls himself back up. He doesn't say anything, just adjusts his pack and keeps climbing. Nobody talks about close calls. There are too many. You reach Canyon City in mid-September. It's grown from a few scattered tents into something approaching a real settlement. 25 businesses, restaurants serving overpriced meals, a blacksmith, a photographer who will take your picture for $2, a small fortune. 1,500 people camped here, all in the same situation you're in, slowly, painfully, relay by relay, hauling thousands of pounds of supplies up a mountain. At night, you sit by your fire and calculate. At your current pace, it will take you 2 months to move all your supplies from Dyea to the summit of Chilkoot Pass, 16 miles away. 2 months of carrying and walking and carrying again. And that's if the weather holds. If you don't get sick, if you don't break something or lose supplies or give up. 2 months, and winter is coming. October arrives, and with it, the first real cold. You wake one morning to find frost coating your tent. Your breath hangs in the air. The mud that's plagued the trail for weeks has frozen into iron-hard ruts that twist your ankles with every step. This is just the beginning. You know it. Everyone knows it. The real winter, the killing winter, is still months away. The trail from Canyon City to Pleasant Camp, another 4 miles up the valley, is marginally better than the canyon section, but only marginally. You're climbing steadily now. The trees thin out. The air gets colder. Your lungs burn with every breath. Pleasant Camp. The name is someone's idea of a bitter joke. There's nothing pleasant about it. It's a collection of tents in a windswept clearing where the river bends, but it's the last place with decent timber for firewood before sheep camp. Another 4 miles ahead, so you stop here. Build a fire. Try to get warm. You notice something strange. People aren't talking much anymore. In Dyea and Canyon City there was energy, excitement, the buzz of shared adventure. But up here, as the loads get heavier and the trail gets steeper and the cold settles in, men move in silence. They're too tired for conversation, too focused on just surviving one more day. Listen to the quiet, the crunch of boots on frozen ground, the crackle of fires, the occasional cough, the wind moving through the bare trees with a sound like whispers. You're getting stronger in a way. Your shoulders have adjusted to the pack straps. Your legs have learned the rhythm of endless climbing. But you're also wearing out. You eat less because supplies are precious. You sleep poorly because it's too cold and your tent is too thin. Little injuries accumulate, blisters, pulled muscles, a constant ache in your lower back. One day, hauling a load through a stretch of trail known as Long Hill, a steep, exhausting climb, you start to see things that don't make sense. Supplies abandoned by the side of the trail, perfectly good supplies, a barrel of flour, a box of tools, a stove still in its crate. You ask another stampeder about it. He shrugs. Men give up, they pack too much, can't carry it all, can't afford to hire packers, so they start leaving things behind, lighten the load. But these are valuable, you say. Everything's valuable, he says, until it's not. That night, you inventory your own supplies. £2,000 seemed reasonable back in Seattle. Now it feels impossible. You start making brutal calculations. What can you live without? What can you leave behind? You abandon 25 pounds of dried fruit, 10 pounds of rice. Extra rope, a second axe. You cache these items, telling yourself you'll come back for them later. You won't. Nobody does. The trail is littered with the shed weight of failed ambitions. Here's something fringe historians debate. Some accounts claim that enterprising people, locals, early arrivals, people who'd already made it over the pass, would wait for stampeders to abandon supplies, then collect them and resell them to the next wave of arrivals. Capitalism at its finest, or cruelest, depending on your perspective. By late October you reach Sheep Camp. Sheep Camp is the last real settlement before the summit. It sits at the base of the final push, where the valley ends and the mountain wall begins. In the summer, it was home to 50 businesses and 8,000 people. Now, as winter approaches, it's a city of canvas and desperation. Restaurants, hotels made of lumber shipped in at terrible expense, saloons where you can buy whiskey for $1 a shot, A hospital tent where a doctor treats frostbite, broken bones, and the 1,000 other injuries that come from moving tons of weight up a mountain in sub-zero temperatures. You set up your tent on the edge of the chaos and spend 3 days just resting. Your body needs it. Your mind needs it. But rest costs money. Every day you're not moving supplies forward is a day your funds dwindle. The coffee is $1 a cup. The bread is $2 a loaf. You're hemorrhaging cash just to stay alive. On your 4th day in sheep camp, it starts to snow. Not the light, pretty snow of winter mornings. Hard, driving snow that comes sideways in the wind. Within hours, everything is buried. The tents sag under the weight. The paths between them disappear. Men huddle in whatever shelter they can find, burning precious fuel to stay warm. This is the snow that will stay until June. This is the beginning of the real winter, and you're still 3 miles from the summit. You stand outside your tent watching the snow pile up, and for the first time since leaving Seattle, you wonder if you'll actually make it. The snow stops after 2 days. Not because the storm ended, but because it's paused, taking a breath before the next assault. You leave sheep camp in the morning, joining the line of men hauling supplies up toward the summit. The trail climbs through the last scattered trees, stunted spruce and hemlock bent sideways by years of wind, and then breaks out into open terrain, rocky, steep. Covered now in 2 feet of fresh snow, a mile above sheep camp you reach a place called Stonehouse. It's not actually a house. It's a huge boulder, maybe 15 feet high, with an overhang that creates a shallow cave underneath. For hundreds of years, maybe thousands, travellers have sheltered here. The Tlingit camped here. Early prospectors rested here. And now, in the winter of 1897, dozens of stampeders huddle beneath this rock, trying to get out of the wind. You drop your pack and squeeze in. The space under the overhang is cramped and cold, but it blocks the wind, and that makes all the difference. You share it with 7 other men. Nobody talks. You're all too tired. You just sit there, shoulder to shoulder, breathing hard, preparing yourselves for what comes next. Above Stonehouse, the mountain wall rises like a judgment. The next section of trail, the final push to the summit, gains 1,000 feet in elevation over half a mile. That's a 35-degree slope. In summer, it's loose rock and scree, treacherous and exhausting. In winter, it's ice and snow. And it becomes one of the most infamous obstacles in North American exploration history. You look up at it, and your heart sinks. The route splits here. To the left, the Peterson route, a longer, more gradual climb that arcs around the steepest section. To the right, the more direct route that will later be called the Golden Stairs. In September and October, most people took the Peterson route. But now, with snow hardening the slopes, a new system is developing. Entrepreneurs are carving steps directly into the ice. 1,500 steps, each one about 3 feet wide, just wide enough for one man. These steps cost money to use. The men who carve them charge a toll, sometimes a flat fee, sometimes a percentage of your load. But the alternative is trying to climb the icy slope without steps, which means slipping, falling, losing your supplies, maybe losing your life. You pay the toll. Here's your historical fact. The steps that became known as the Golden Stairs weren't carved all at once. Different crews worked on different sections. Some steps were deep and solid. Others were shallow and crumbling, and as thousands of men used them day after day, they had to be recarved constantly. The ice wore away. New snow filled them in. It was a constant, brutal maintenance job, and the men who did it made a fortune. You join the line. That's what it is now. A line. A single-file procession of men climbing toward the summit. Each one bent under the weight of his pack. Each one taking one step, then another, then another. Listen to the sound. The crunch of boots on ice. The ragged breathing of exhausted men. The occasional clatter when someone drops something and it slides away down the slope. No one chases it. You can't break formation. The line moves forward, always forward, and if you step out of it, you lose your place. You'll wait hours to get back in. You climb, step, breathe, step, breathe. The pack on your back, 60 pounds this trip, a light load by your standards now, feels like it's trying to pull you backward. Your thighs burn, your calves cramp, sweat soaks your wool shirt even though the temperature is 10 below zero. Every 20 steps there's a small platform carved into the slope, a place to rest. You reach one, stop. Lean forward onto your pack. Close your eyes, your lungs are screaming. Your heart hammers so hard you can feel it in your skull. A minute passes, 2. Someone behind you clears their throat. A gentle reminder. Keep moving. The line can't stop, you start climbing again. Halfway up, you pass a man sitting in the snow beside the steps. He's not resting, he's given up. His pack is beside him, unopened. He's just sitting there, staring at nothing, while the line of climbers files past. You don't stop. You can't stop. But you look at him as you pass, and for a moment your eyes meet. His expression is empty, like he's already a ghost. Later, you'll hear he died there. Hypothermia, exhaustion, heart failure. Nobody's quite sure. His body stayed there until the spring thaw, frozen in position, a warning to everyone who passed. You reach the full summit, a flatter section where the slope briefly levels out, and the relief nearly makes you cry. But you're not done. The true summit is still another 100 yards ahead, up a final steep section through a narrow gap in the rocks. You climb, step by step by step. Your vision narrows. The world becomes nothing but the next step, the next breath. And then, finally, you're there. The summit of Chilkoot Pass, elevation 3,359 feet. You drop your pack and stand there, gasping. Around you, dozens of other men are doing the same. Some are laughing with relief, others are crying. One man is vomiting in the snow. The wind up here is savage. It cuts through every layer you're wearing, finds skin, steals heat. But for this moment you don't care. You made it. You climb the golden stairs, you're at the top. You look back the way you came. Below you the line of men still climbs, tiny figures against the white slope, an endless chain of ambition and suffering. You look forward. Canada spreads out below you, lakes frozen solid, mountains rolling away into the distance. Somewhere out there, 400 miles away, is Dawson City, the goldfields. The whole reason you're here. It looks impossible. A Mountie, a member of the Northwest Mounted Police, Canada's frontier law enforcement, approaches. He checks your supplies, makes sure you have your full ton. You do, barely. He nods, stamps your paperwork. "Welcome to Canada," he says. His voice is flat. He's said this 10,000 times. You cache your supplies just beyond the summit, in a growing pile of goods protected by a tarp, and then you turn around and head back down. Because this is just one trip, one load out of 30. You still have 29 more to go. The climb down from the summit is harder than you imagined. Your legs are shaking, not from the cold, from something worse, from 29 trips still ahead of you. You turn around, look back up at the pass you just conquered. The golden stairs disappear into white fog. Somewhere up there, your cache of supplies sits buried under 3 feet of fresh snow. Tomorrow you'll climb it all over again, and the day after that, and the day after that. Do the math. 30 trips up, 29 trips down. That's 59 journeys through hell. You've completed one. The wind hits differently on the descent. It doesn't push you back anymore. Now it shoves you forward, trying to make you run, trying to make you fall. Your boots slip on ice that shouldn't exist. It's only September, but up here, September means winter decided to show up early and brought all its friends. Around you, men stumble like ghosts. One man sits in the snow, just sits there, staring at his hands. They're wrapped in bloody rags. He's been climbing for 6 days straight. His fingernails are gone. Frostbite ate them somewhere between trip 15 and trip 16. Nobody stops to help him. There's an unspoken rule up here. You save yourself first. Then maybe, if you have energy left, you save someone else. But energy is a currency more valuable than gold, and you're bankrupt. Here's a historical fact. The Northwest Mounted Police required every stampeder to bring 1 ton of supplies, not because they were cruel, because they'd seen what happened when men arrived in the Yukon with nothing. Starvation doesn't care about your dreams of gold. It just cares that you forgot to pack enough beans. That ton of supplies meant most men had to make 30 to 40 round trips up the pass. Some sources say each stampeder walked 2,500 miles total. That's Seattle to New York. Except instead of flat highways, you're climbing a 45-degree slope of ice while carrying a piano on your back. You reach a flatter section. Your lungs stop screaming. The air still tastes like metal and regret, but at least you can breathe without feeling like someone's stabbing your chest with icicles. Ahead, you see the Canadian Customs Station. A small tent. A Mountie inside, checking manifests, making sure you haven't somehow lost half your supplies in the last 800 vertical feet. He stamps your paper without looking up. You're legal. You're Canadian now. Congratulations. Welcome to your new frozen nightmare. But something's wrong. You can feel it. The snow isn't falling anymore. It's hovering. Little flakes suspended in air that's too still, too quiet. The kind of quiet that happens right before nature decides to remind you who's actually in charge. An old-timer, maybe 35, ancient by stampeder standards, sees you staring at the sky. He laughs. Not a happy laugh. The kind of laugh someone makes when they know the punchline but wish they didn't. First winter on the pass, he asks. You nod. Then you haven't seen a real storm yet. What you climbed through today, that was the pass being polite. Wait till it gets mad. You want to ask what he means, but he's already walking away, and you're too tired to form words. Your vocabulary has shrunk to 3 phrases. One more step. Please let me rest. And why did I come here? The descent continues. Hours blur together. Or maybe minutes. Time works differently at altitude. Especially when you're watching men ahead of you slide, catch themselves, slide again. Every slip is a dice roll. Most times they stop. Sometimes they don't. You pass a man crying. Not sobbing. Just tears freezing on his cheeks. He's younger than you. Maybe 19. He's holding a photograph. You can't see who's in it, but you don't need to. Everyone up here is holding on to something invisible. Someone they left behind. Someone who told them not to go. Finally, after what feels like 3 lifetimes compressed into 6 hours, you reach Crater Lake. It's frozen. Obviously. Everything up here is frozen. The lake looks peaceful from a distance. Like a mirror someone dropped in the mountains and forgot to pick up. But up close you see the cracks. Spiderweb patterns spreading across the ice. Next month men will try to cross this lake. Some will make it. Some will hear that crack. That singular moment of understanding that ice isn't as solid as hope, and they'll disappear into water so cold it feels like fire. You set up camp at the lake's edge. Your tent is a joke. Canvas so thin you can see shadows through it. The wind treats it like a punching bag, but it's shelter. Sort of. Better than sleeping directly on the ground where the cold rises up through the earth and steals your body heat while you dream of warmth. Inside your tent you light a candle, 1 candle, because fuel is precious and you still have 29 more trips to make. The flame dances like it's mocking you. Look how warm I am, it seems to say. Look how you're still shivering. You try to eat, hardtack and dried salmon. It tastes like cardboard that lost a fight with despair, but you chew anyway, because tomorrow you descend the rest of the way to the lakes, then you walk back to the scales, then you climb the pass again, and somewhere in that cycle, between exhaustion and more exhaustion, you'll have to figure out how to not become one of the frozen bodies they find every spring preserved in ice like terrible time capsules. Outside, the silence breaks. Snow starts falling again, this time harder, this time angry. You can hear it hitting your tent. Each flake sounds like a tiny fist, like winter is knocking. Asking if you're sure you want to stay, you wake to silence. The wrong kind of silence. The kind that means something changed while you slept. Outside your tent, the snow has stopped, but the temperature dropped. You can tell because breathing hurts now. Each inhale feels like swallowing glass. The air at Crater Lake is different than the air down in Sheep Camp. Thinner, meaner, like it's trying to decide whether to let you live or not. You pack your gear with fingers that don't quite work right anymore. Everything takes twice as long when you can't feel your hands. Your boots are frozen solid. You have to hold them near the candle flame just to get your feet inside. The descent from Crater Lake to the chain of smaller lakes below takes hours. Deep Lake, Long Lake, each one frozen, each one beautiful in a way that wants to kill you. The ice is black in places. You can see down into it, see bubbles trapped mid-rise, see cracks spreading like veins. Around you, other stampeders move like shadows. Nobody talks. Talking requires energy. Energy is the thing you don't have. Here's a historical fact that matters. The route from the summit to Lake Lindeman was 16 miles. Most men did it in stages. Cache at Crater Lake, cache at Long Lake, cache at Lindeman, then walk back up and do it all again. The mathematics of suffering calculated in pounds and miles and trips that never seem to end. You pass a tent that wasn't there yesterday. Inside you can hear coughing. Deep, wet coughing. The kind that comes from lungs filling with fluid. Pneumonia, probably. Up here, pneumonia is a death sentence. No doctors, no medicine. Just cold and time and the hope that your body is stronger than the infection. You don't stop. Nobody stops. That's the rule. You save yourself first. By noon, or what you think is noon, the sun barely clears the mountains, you reach Long Lake. It stretches out like a white road to nowhere. 3 miles of frozen water, men are crossing it, pulling sleds, dragging supplies, moving across the ice like ants on a mirror. You step onto the lake. The ice groans, not loud, just a low complaint. A reminder that nothing here is as solid as it looks. Halfway across you see him. A man sitting on his sled, just sitting there. His head is tilted back, his eyes are open, but he's not moving. You get closer. Close enough to see frost on his eyelashes. Close enough to see that he's not breathing. Close enough to understand that he sat down to rest and never stood back up. Someone has draped a coat over his shoulders. Someone tried to help. But help doesn't mean much when the cold decides it's finished with you. You keep walking. What else can you do? There's no one to notify, no authorities, no system for dealing with the dead except to keep moving and hope you don't join them. Lake Lindeman appears through the trees like a promise or a threat. It's hard to tell the difference anymore. The shore is chaos. Hundreds of tents, thousands of stampeders, everyone building boats, everyone preparing for the next impossible stage of this nightmare journey. The river. 400 miles of rapids and rocks and water cold enough to stop your heart in seconds. But that's a problem for later. Right now, your problem is getting the rest of your supplies down from the summit. 28 more trips. You've done 2. You find a flat spot near the tree line. Set up your tent. Crawl inside. Your body aches in ways that don't have names. Your feet are blistered inside your frozen boots. Your shoulders are raw meat under your shirt. Outside, someone is playing a harmonica. A sad, slow tune that drifts through the camp like smoke. Men gather around fires, share stories, share lies about how much gold they're going to find. Share hope, because hope is the only currency that still has value. You close your eyes, try to sleep. But sleep doesn't come easy when you know tomorrow means walking back up. Back to the scales, back to the golden stairs, back to the summit where the wind screams and the cold waits like a patient predator. You wonder if the man on Long Lake knew this was his last trip, if he felt it coming, if he had time to think about whoever was waiting for him back home, whoever told him not to go. The harmonica stops, the camp quiets, the cold presses down like a weight on everything. Tomorrow you'll climb again, and the day after that, and the day after that, until all your supplies are here, until you can build your boat, until you can float away from this frozen hell toward whatever waits in Dawson City. But tonight, you're just another body in a tent, another fool who thought gold was worth this, another name that might end up carved on a wooden cross if the mountain decides you've pushed your luck too far. You wake at 4 a.m., not because you want to, because your body refuses to sleep anymore. Pain is a better alarm clock than any rooster ever was. The walk back up to the scales begins in darkness. You're not alone. Hundreds of men move like ghosts through the pre-dawn cold. Nobody carries supplies on the return trip. You're walking empty, light, which should feel like freedom but instead feels like failure, because every step back up means you haven't finished yet. The math haunts you. 2,000 pounds of supplies, 60 pounds per trip if you're strong, 80 if you're desperate or stupid. That's 25 to 33 trips. Some men try to do it faster, carry more. Those men usually end up like the one you saw on Long Lake, frozen, done. A cautionary tale that nobody learns from because everyone thinks they're different. By sunrise, you're halfway back to sheep camp. Your legs move on autopilot, one foot, then the other. Repeat until dead or successful. You can't remember which outcome seems more likely anymore. Around you, the trail is a highway of suffering. Men going up with loads, men coming down empty. Everyone locked in the same endless loop. Cash and carry, a rhythm that's slowly grinding you into dust. At sheep camp, you pass the warming cabin. It's packed with men who've given up for the day, or forever. You can tell the difference by looking at their eyes. The ones taking a break still have anger in them, still have fight. The ones who are done just stare at nothing. You keep walking, because stopping means thinking. Thinking means questioning why you're here. And if you start questioning, you might not start walking again. Stonehouse appears through the mist like a grim milestone. You've passed this rock 40 times now. 20 trips down, 20 trips up. It knows you better than your own mother does at this point. Here's a historical fact that won't comfort you. The average stampeder took 30 days to move all their supplies from Dyea to Lake Lindeman. 30 days of walking, carrying, climbing, descending. 30 days of the same terrible loop. And that was if the weather cooperated. If you didn't get sick. If you didn't break something. If luck decided to cut you a break. Luck rarely cut breaks on the Chilkoot Pass. The climb to the scales feels steeper every time. Your body knows what's coming. Knows that beyond this bowl of flat ground lies the golden stairs. 1,500 steps carved into ice and spite. 1,500 reminders that nature didn't want you here and is barely tolerating your presence. At the scales, you see men weighing their loads. The Canadian Mounties require proof. Proof that you have your ton. Proof that you won't starve. Proof that you thought this through. Even though clearly nobody thinks anything through when gold fever starts burning in their brain. You pass through without stopping. Your supplies are already cached at the summit. This trip is just your body making the journey one more time. This is trip 21. The golden stairs loom. The line of men stretches up like a funeral procession. Slow, steady, unstoppable. You join at the back, take your place, become another link in the chain of human stubbornness. Step, breathe, step, breathe. The rhythm is the same. The agony is familiar. Your thighs scream. Your calves threaten mutiny. Your lungs file a formal complaint that gets ignored because you're not the one making decisions anymore. Your body's just along for the ride. Your mind checked out somewhere around trip 15. Halfway up, you notice something. A man sitting beside the steps. He's not resting. He's crying. Full-on sobbing. His pack is beside him. 60 pounds of beans and bacon and broken dreams. Someone behind you mutters, "Third time I've seen him there. Just sits and cries. Doesn't go up. Doesn't go down." You understand. There's a breaking point. A moment when your brain just stops accepting the reality of what you're asking it to do. This man has found that point. He's stuck in it like quicksand. You keep climbing. What else can you do? Stop and cry with him? That won't move your supplies. Won't get you closer to Dawson. Won't make the gold appear in your pocket. The summit finally arrives. It always does. Eventually. You drop onto the snow beside your cache and just breathe. Just exist. Just try to remember what life felt like before every muscle in your body hurt. Around you, the summit is a bazaar of exhaustion. Hundreds of caches, thousands of pounds of supplies buried under tarps and canvas, and hope that nobody steals them while you're gone. There's an honour system up here, mostly because anyone strong enough to carry their own supplies doesn't have energy left to steal yours. A Mountie walks past, checks manifests, nods, moves on. He's seen thousands of men like you, thousands of fools chasing gold up a mountain of ice. He's probably betting on which ones make it and which ones end up in shallow graves come spring. You rest for 20 minutes. Any longer, and your muscles will seize. Any shorter, and you'll collapse before reaching Lindeman. There's a science to this suffering. You're learning it one agonizing lesson at a time. The descent begins. Trip 21 down, 12 more to go. 12 more loops through this frozen hell, 12 more chances to slip, fall, break, die, or succeed. You're not sure which option seems more appealing right now. Day 16, or is it 17? Time has become meaningless. There's only before and after. Before you started this relay, after you finish it, and the endless grinding present where you exist in a state of perpetual motion and pain. You're on trip 24, 6 more to go. The number feels impossible. 6 more journeys up the golden stairs. 6 more descents where one wrong step means sliding hundreds of feet down ice that doesn't care about your dreams. Today, something's different. The wind has teeth, real teeth, the kind that bite through wool and skin and fine bone. The temperature dropped overnight. Someone said it's 20 below. Someone else said 30. Nobody knows. Nobody has a thermometer. And even if they did, what would it matter? Cold is cold. Dead is dead. At sheep camp you hear about the avalanche. Not the big one. Not the one that will kill 60 people in April. That one hasn't happened yet. This one is smaller. 7 men buried. 5 dug out. 2 didn't make it. Someone says their names, but you don't recognize them. Someone else says they were from Oregon. Another voice claims California. Does it matter? They're gone. The mountain took them, added them to its collection. You keep walking. Because stopping means thinking about avalanches. Thinking about how the slope above the scales is loaded with snow. How every stampeder crossing it is playing a lottery where the prize is making it to the summit and the consolation is being buried alive. On the climb, you notice men are getting desperate. A year ago, these same men had jobs, families, normal lives. Now they're reduced to animals, climbing, carrying, surviving. The veneer of civilization has worn so thin you can see through it. At the scales, a fight breaks out. 2 men. One accused the other of cutting in line, as if there's honour in a single-file procession upstairs carved by men who charge a toll to use them. They throw punches that barely land. They're too tired for real violence. Eventually someone separates them. Everyone goes back to climbing. You wonder when you'll snap, when your breaking point will arrive, because everyone has one. The crying man on the stairs found his. These 2 fighting over line position found theirs. Yours is coming. You can feel it approaching like a storm you can't outrun. Step. Breathe. Step. Breathe. The golden stairs don't care about your breaking point. They just keep going up. Each step exactly like the last. Each one requiring the same amount of effort, the same amount of will, the same tiny decision to not quit. Not yet. Not this step. At the summit, you notice something. Your cache has been disturbed, not stolen, just moved. Someone went through it, checked what you had, probably comparing their supplies to yours, probably trying to figure out if they packed enough, or too much, or if any of this matters when the gold might not even exist. You reload your pack for the descent. 80 pounds this time. You're done playing it safe, done making extra trips. Your body is breaking down, your mind is fracturing. You need to finish this before something essential snaps. The descent with a full load is suicide by installment plan. Every step is a negotiation. Every switchback is a prayer. The pack tries to pull you forward. Gravity wants you to run. Your legs refuse to cooperate. It's a 3-way argument and nobody's winning. Halfway down the golden stairs, your right knee decides it's finished. Just gives up. One step, it's fine. The next step, it's a white-hot explosion of pain that makes you gasp. You grab the ice wall, steady yourself, breathe through it. Behind you, men wait. Nobody complains. They know. They all know. Everyone is holding together by threads at this point. You make it to the scales, to Stonehouse, to Sheep Camp. Each landmark is a small victory. Each one proves you haven't broken yet. Not completely, not today. At Pleasant Camp, you see a woman. The first woman you've seen in weeks. She's carrying supplies like everyone else, moving at the same grinding pace. Her face has the same hollowed-out look, the same 1,000-yard stare. Gold fever doesn't discriminate. It breaks everyone equally. By the time you reach Lindeman, your knee has swollen to twice its normal size. You can barely walk. You collapse in your tent and don't move for 12 hours. When you wake, the calculation is simple. 6 more trips. Your knee is destroyed. The weather is getting worse. Winter is tightening its grip. You have 3 choices. 1. Quit. Abandon your supplies. Abandon your dreams. Walk back to Dyea and take a ship south. Admit defeat. 2. Push through. 6 more trips on a knee that barely functions. Hope it holds. Hope you don't fall. Hope the mountain doesn't decide you're the next lesson it needs to teach. 3. Hire packers. Pay the Tilling-It or other professional carriers to finish your relay. Watch your money disappear. Money you might need in Dawson, money you might need to survive. Outside your tent, the harmonica plays again. Same sad song, different night. You wonder if the musician is still the same person, or if someone else picked it up after the original player gave up, or died, or disappeared into the white nothing that surrounds everything up here. You close your eyes, try to decide, try to figure out which choice leads to survival, and which ones lead to becoming another story, another name, another lesson that nobody learns. Tomorrow is trip 25, 5 more after that, then you're done with the relay, done with the golden stairs, done with the endless loop of suffering. Then you get to build a boat and risk drowning instead of freezing. Progress, that's what they call it. You'd laugh if you had the energy. Trip 25 begins at dawn. Your knee is wrapped in strips torn from an old shirt. It's not medicine, it's not support, it's just cloth and hope and denial. But it's what you have, so it's what you use. The weather has turned truly vicious. Snow falls sideways, the wind doesn't blow, it attacks. Every exposed inch of skin feels like it's being scraped with broken glass. This is March weather. This is the pass showing you what winter really means. You're not alone in your desperation. The whole trail has taken on a frantic energy. Everyone can feel it. The season is closing. The window is narrowing. Soon the pass will become completely impassable. Soon the boats won't be able to launch because the ice on the lakes will be too thick. Soon this whole enterprise will freeze solid until spring. At Sheep Camp you learn about the tramway. Someone has built a mechanical system. A cable, a pulley, a way to haul supplies up without carrying them on your back. It costs money. A lot of money. But it works. You do the math. 5 more trips. Your knee is barely holding together. Your body is running on fumes and stubbornness. The tramway could finish your relay in a day. 1 day. After nearly a month of suffering. You count your money. The money you saved for Dawson. The money you need for mining equipment. The money you need for food. The money that's supposed to transform into gold somehow. You make the decision. You'll do 2 more trips yourself. Then you'll pay for the tramway. It's a compromise, a surrender, an admission that you're human and humans have limits and you found yours. Trip 25, trip 26. You climb the golden stairs twice more. Each trip is slower than the last. Each step requires a conscious decision. Your knee is screaming. Your body is begging. Your mind is calculating how far you can fall before the ice kills you. On trip 26 at the summit, you finally arrange for the tramway. A man with a clipboard. A man who looks less dead than everyone else. A man who's making a fortune off the broken bodies of dreamers. You pay him. Watch your money disappear. Watch him make a note in his ledger. He tells you your remaining supplies will be at Lindeman in 3 days. 3 days. You've been doing this for a month. And in 3 days, a machine will finish what your body couldn't. The descent is lighter, not physically, you're still carrying a full load, but mentally, emotionally, you're done climbing, done with the golden stairs, done with the most brutal part of this entire nightmare journey. At Lindeman, you collapse, just completely give up on being vertical. You lie in your tent and listen to your body catalogue its injuries. Knee, destroyed. Shoulders, raw. Feet, blistered and probably infected. Lungs, possibly damaged from weeks of breathing frozen air. Mental state, questionable at best. But you're done. The relay's over. In 3 days, all your supplies will be here. Then comes the next impossible task. Building a boat in a place where everyone is building boats, with wood that's been cut by thousands of axes, with skills you don't have, with time you don't have, with a body that's already broken. Outside you can hear sawing, hammering, men building their vessels, their hopes, their coffins, because that's what the boats might become. The river between here and Dawson is called Miles Canyon, Whitehorse Rapids, Five Finger Rapids, names that sound like threats because they are threats. But that's tomorrow's problem, or next week's problem. Right now, you have a different task. You have to figure out how to stand up, how to walk, how to become a functional human again after a month of being nothing more than a pack animal on a mountain of ice. 3 days later, the tramway delivers your supplies. All of them, dropped at your camp in neat bundles, you sort through them. Everything is there. Everything except your dignity and the naive version of yourself that thought this would be an adventure. You look around at Lindeman, hundreds of tents, thousands of men, everyone building boats, everyone preparing for the next phase, the water phase, where drowning replaces freezing as the primary cause of death. Someone walks past, asks how long you've been here. You say a month. He laughs, says he's been here 2 days, paid porters to carry everything, paid the tramway from the start, saved weeks of suffering. You hate him, not because he was smart, because he's a reminder of what you could have done, should have done, would have done if you'd known, if you'd understood, if pride and poverty hadn't convinced you that your body could endure anything, but you survived. That's something. You climbed the golden stairs 26 times. You carried nearly 2 tons of supplies over a mountain pass in winter. You did the impossible, or at least the incredibly, stupidly difficult. And now you get to do the next impossible thing. Build a boat, navigate hundreds of miles of rapids, make it to Dawson, find gold, get rich, return home a hero, or die trying. That option is always available. The mountain taught you that. Death is always an option. Sometimes it's the easiest one, but not today. Today you're alive, broken, exhausted, possibly permanently damaged, but alive. You sit by your pile of supplies and watch the sun set over Lake Lindeman. The ice is starting to break up. Soon the lake will be navigable. Soon you'll launch your boat. Soon the next phase of this nightmare begins. For now, you rest. You've earned it. You've climbed your mountain. You've paid your dues. You've proven whatever needed proving. Tomorrow you'll figure out how to build a boat when you can barely stand. Tomorrow you'll worry about rapids and rocks and drowning. Tonight you just breathe, just exist, just survive. The Chilkoot Pass is behind you. Dawson City lies ahead. And somewhere in between is the gold that has to exist, the gold that has to be worth all of this. Because if it isn't, then what was the point of any of it? You don't have an answer. Nobody does. So you just keep moving forward, because forward is the only direction that matters anymore. You spend the first 3 days at Lindeman just staring at trees, not admiring them, calculating them. Every tree is a potential boat. Every boat is the difference between making it to Dawson or dying here. The forest around Lake Lindeman is disappearing. 8,000 men arrived before you. Each one needed wood. Lots of wood. The hillsides that were green in summer are now bare, stumps everywhere. Like a war happened here. A war against nature. Nature is losing. You watch men work. Some know what they're doing. Carpenters, boat builders, men who understand that wood floats when you treat it right and sinks when you don't. These men work with purpose, measuring, cutting, fitting. Their boats look like boats. Then there's everyone else. Men like you. Men who've never built anything more complex than a bookshelf. Men who think hammering boards together in a vaguely boat-shaped configuration will somehow work. Spoiler, it won't. Here's a historical fact. Between 1897 and 1898, stampeders built over 7,000 boats at Lake Lindeman and nearby Lake Bennett, 7,000 vessels of wildly varying quality. Some were masterpieces. Most were floating coffins waiting for the right wave to become actual coffins. You start gathering materials. Wood is expensive now. Supply and demand. The nearby forests are gone. You either pay someone to haul timber from miles away, or you make the trip yourself. Your knee still doesn't work right. The decision makes itself. You pay. Watch your gold fund shrink again. Watch the future you imagined get smaller with every dollar spent on present survival. The wood arrives. Rough planks, green timber that hasn't dried properly, nails, pitch for ceiling seams, a saw that's seen better days, tools borrowed from a man who charges by the hour. This is boat building on the frontier. No instructions, no blueprints, just hope and desperation, and the vague memory of seeing a boat once. You start building. The first plank goes down, then another. They don't fit right. There's a gap. You adjust. Try again. The gap moves, doesn't disappear, just relocates, like it's mocking you. Around you the sound of construction is constant. Hammering, sawing, cursing, so much cursing. Men discovering that boat building is harder than it looks. Men realizing their supplies don't include enough nails. Men watching their vessels take shape and understanding that shape doesn't guarantee function. At night you collapse in your tent. Your hands are covered in blisters. Splinters embedded in your palms like tiny wooden daggers. Your back aches from bending over the boat frame all day. Your mind races with doubts. What if the boat sinks? What if you drown? What if this entire journey ends in cold water? You don't have answers. Nobody does. You just keep building, because the alternative is admitting defeat, admitting that you survived the golden stairs just to fail at carpentry. 2 weeks into construction, your boat looks like a boat. Sort of, if you squint. And don't think too hard about what boats should look like. It's 18 feet long, 5 feet wide, flat-bottomed because curved hulls require skill you don't have. The seams are sealed with pitch. Probably. You used all the pitch you had. Whether it's enough won't be known until you put this thing in water. Other men are launching. You watch from shore. Some boats float beautifully, settle into the water like they belong there. Their builders smile, load their supplies, push off toward the unknown with something approaching confidence. Other boats sink, not slowly, fast, like they've been waiting their whole short existence for this moment. The moment they can stop pretending to be boats and embrace their true nature as kindling. Men scramble, grab supplies before they disappear, wade to shore soaking wet, start over. You're not sure which category your boat falls into. Won't know until you try. Here's what the historical record shows. The journey from Lake Lindeman to Dawson City was 550 miles, most of it through lakes, some of it through rivers. The dangerous parts, Miles Canyon, Whitehorse Rapids, Five Finger Rapids, killed dozens, maybe hundreds. Nobody kept accurate counts. Death wasn't newsworthy when it happened every day. The Canadian authorities tried to help. They stationed Mounties at the worst rapids, posted warning signs, offered advice. But advice doesn't mean much when you've invested everything in getting this far. When turning back means admitting failure. When going forward might kill you, but at least it's moving forward. You load your boat, 2,000 pounds of supplies. The boat sits lower in the water than you hoped. The waterline creeps up the sides, inches from the top edge. One good wave, one miscalculation, one wrong move and everything goes under. You push off. The boat doesn't sink. This feels like victory. A small one. The kind measured in seconds of not drowning. Lake Lindeman is frozen at the edges. The centre is open water, black, cold, deep. You paddle. The boat moves. This is working. You're actually doing this. A wave hits. Small, maybe 6 inches. The boat rocks. Water sloshes over the side. Not much. Just enough to remind you that boats and water have a complicated relationship. One you don't fully understand. You bail. Use a tin cup. Scoop water back into the lake. The boat steadies. You keep paddling. The rhythm emerges. Paddle, bail, paddle, bail. Repeat until you reach the far shore, or sink, whichever comes first. Around you, other boats struggle. A man capsizes. His supplies float away. He swims to shore, sits there, stares at nothing. His gold rush is over. Just like that. One wave, one moment, done. You reach the end of the Lake Lindeman. There's a short stretch of rapids. Not the deadly ones, just practice. A preview of what's coming. You navigate them poorly. The boat spins, hits a rock, bounces off, keeps floating. You're not skilled, just lucky. For now. Lake Bennett opens ahead. Bigger than Lindeman. More boats, more stampeders, more desperation packed into wood and pitch and hope. You join the flotilla, become one more fool on one more boat heading toward one more disaster or triumph. The odds are roughly equal. Lake Bennett is chaos organized into boat form. Thousands of vessels, all waiting. The ice hasn't broken up downstream. Miles Canyon and Whitehorse Rapids are still frozen. Nobody can proceed. Everyone's stuck. It's late May. The ice should be gone. Should be. Nature doesn't care about should. Nature does what it wants when it wants. You wait, along with 8,000 other stampeders, all camped on Bennett's shore, all watching the ice, all calculating how much food is left, how long supplies will last, how patient desperation can be before it becomes something clear. The camps spread for miles, tents, boats pulled up on shore, fires burning constantly, the smell of coffee and bacon and wood smoke, men playing cards, trading stories, trading lies about the gold waiting in Dawson. Nobody mentions the bodies, the ones that floated past last week, the ones that will float past next week, the dead from upstream, the dead from downstream, the dead from everywhere. You use the time to repair your boat, fix the seam that's leaking, add another layer of pitch, reinforce the stern where the wood is splitting. These repairs might help, might not. But doing nothing feels like giving up. So you do something. Here's the historical reality. When the ice finally broke on Lake Bennett, roughly 7,000 boats launched within 2 days. 7,000 vessels, 25,000 people. All trying to navigate the same water route at the same time. It was the largest boat migration in North American history, also one of the deadliest. On May 29th, the ice moves. You hear it before you see it. A grinding sound. Like the lake is waking up angry. The ice sheets crack, shift, start floating downstream. The waterway opens, men cheer, load their boats, prepare to launch. You join them. Because staying means being left behind. Being left behind means admitting defeat. The launch is chaos. Boats everywhere, collisions, men shouting, paddles tangling. Your boat gets hit twice in the first 100 yards. You push off. Use a pole to fend off other vessels. Navigate through the mess toward open water. The current takes you, pulls you downstream, toward Tagish Lake, toward Miles Canyon, toward the rapids that have been waiting patiently to judge whether your boat deserves to exist. You paddle with thousands of others, a floating city of ambition and terror, moving forward because stopping isn't an option anymore. You hear Miles Canyon before you see it. A roar, low, constant, the sound of water doing violence to rock, the sound that means you're about to test whether your boat-building skills are adequate or fatal. The Mounties are there, waiting. They've set up a checkpoint, a warning station. Their job is simple, convince idiots not to kill themselves. Your job is simpler, ignore them and hope for the best. A Mountie approaches, young, maybe 25. He's seen this before, seen men like you, seen the ones who made it through, seen the ones who didn't. His face says he's tired of pulling bodies from the water. You a strong swimmer? He asks. Not really, you say. Can you portage around the canyon? You look at your boat, your 2,000 pounds of supplies, your body that's barely functional after months of suffering. No, he nods, then goes slow, stay right. When you enter the canyon, the current will push you left into the wall. Fight it. Paddle right. Hard. Don't stop paddling until you're through. How long's the canyon? Half a mile. Feels like forever. You push off. The current accelerates. The boat picks up speed. Trees on shore start blurring. You're moving faster than you've ever moved on water, faster than feels safe, faster than allows for mistakes. The canyon walls appear. Vertical rock, 80 feet tall. The river narrows, compresses. All that water forced through a gap too small for it. The water rises, forms standing waves, waves that don't move, don't travel, just stand there like liquid walls waiting to crush you. You enter. The roar becomes deafening. Water everywhere. Spray, chaos. Your boat tilts. You paddle right, hard, like the Mountie said. The current pushes left. You fight it. Muscles screaming, hands bleeding where the paddle rubs skin raw. You can't stop, can't rest, can't do anything except paddle and pray and hope the boat holds together. A wave hits. Huge. Bigger than should be possible. The boat rises, tilts 45 degrees. You're going to flip, going to capsize, going to die here in this canyon with your name added to the list of fools who thought they could beat water with wood. The boat drops, slams down, stays upright. Somehow, you're still alive, still moving, still in the fight. You paddle. The canyon walls slide past, the exit appears, you burst through into calm water, made it, survived. Your first real test. Passed by luck more than skill, but passed nonetheless. Behind you, another boat enters. You watch. Can't help it. The boat hits the same wave, flips. The man disappears underwater, surfaces, grabs for his supplies. They're gone. Sunk. His journey ends here. Yours continues. You don't feel relief, just exhaustion. Because Miles Canyon is just the beginning. 2 miles downstream from Miles Canyon, the river changes again. Gets angry again. Whitehorse Rapids, named for the way the waves look like white horses running. Beautiful from shore, deadly from a boat. More Mounties, more warnings. This time they're insistent. Women and children must portage, must walk around. The rapids don't care about gender, but the Mounties do. They've seen too many families destroyed, too many children drowned. They enforce the rule. You see men unloading, carrying supplies around the rapids. It takes hours, multiple trips, but they survive. Guaranteed. The portage might be exhausting, but it's not fatal. Other men look at the rapids, calculate, decide to risk it. Their boats are too heavy to portage, their bodies too broken, their time too limited. They choose speed over safety. Some make it, some don't. You calculate your own odds. Your boat made it through Miles Canyon. Barely. These rapids look worse, longer, more violent, more opportunities to die. But portaging means unloading, carrying, loading again, hours of work, maybe a full day, and your body is already broken, your knee doesn't work. Your back is held together by stubbornness. You're not sure you can portage even if you want to. You make the decision. You're running the rapids. The Mountie sees your face, knows what you've decided. He doesn't argue, just says, stay in the main channel. Don't try to avoid the big waves. They'll flip you if you hit them sideways. Hit them straight on. Let the boat ride over them. You nod. Push off. The current grabs you immediately, pulls you toward the thunder, the white water, the chaos that's killed dozens and will probably kill more. The first wave is 10 feet tall, a wall of water standing in the river, defying physics, defying logic. You paddle straight at it. The boat climbs, rises, tilts back so far you can see sky, then drops, slams down the backside. Water floods the boat, inches deep. You bail while paddling. Impossible task, you do it anyway. Another wave, then another. The boat is half full of water now, heavy, sluggish, not responding to the paddle like it should. You're sinking, slowly, not enough to go under yet, but getting closer. Ahead the rapids end. You can see calm water. Just have to make it 50 more yards. Just have to survive 50 more seconds. Just have to not die for another minute. A rock appears, submerged, invisible until you're on top of it. The boat hits, hard. The bottom cracks. You hear it, feel it. A grinding impact that means something broke, something important. The boat keeps moving, still floating, but water pours in through the crack. Faster now. You bail, paddle, bail. The rhythm is desperate, panicked. The calm water is 30 yards away, 20, 10. You burst through into flat water. The boat settles. You bail frantically. The water level drops, stops rising. The crack is bad, but not fatal. Not yet. You made it. Again, by luck, by stubbornness, by refusing to acknowledge that drowning was an option. You pull to shore, inspect the damage. The crack runs 6 inches along the bottom. You patch it with pitch, with cloth, with hope. It might hold, might not. You'll find out on the next stretch of river, or the stretch after that, or whenever luck decides it's done cutting you breaks. The river calms after Whitehorse, becomes almost peaceful. Almost. There are still hazards, rocks, sandbars, log jams. But compared to the rapids, this is easy. This is survival by comparison. You float. Days blur together. Paddle. Camp. Paddle. Camp. The routine is numbing, comforting. You stop thinking about dying, start thinking about arriving. About Dawson, about gold. Other boats float nearby. You form loose groups, help each other, share food when someone runs short, share information about hazards ahead. This far into the journey, competition has been replaced by camaraderie. You're all survivors now, all members of the same stupid club, the club of people who crossed the Chilkoot Pass and lived to regret it. 5 Finger Rapids appears, the last major obstacle. The river splits around 4 rock pillars, creates 5 channels. Only one is safe. You take the far right channel like everyone before you. Navigate it cleanly, no drama, no near-death experience, just water and rock and a boat that keeps floating despite having every reason not to. The river widens, the landscape changes, trees give way to mud banks, settlements appear, small ones, camps, trading posts. Signs of civilization creeping into wilderness. You're getting close. On June 8th, 1898, you round a bend and see it. Dawson City. A sprawl of tents and buildings, smoke rising from 1,000 fires, boats pulled up on the muddy shore, men everywhere. You made it. After 4 months, after the golden stairs, after the relay, after the boat building, after the rapids, you actually made it. You pull your boat onto shore, step onto land. Your legs don't work right. Haven't been on solid ground in weeks. Everything feels wrong. Off balance, you stumble, catch yourself. Stand there trying to remember how walking works. Around you, other stampeders are arriving. Some celebrate, some cry. Some just stand there like you, too exhausted for emotion, too broken for joy. They came for gold, found suffering. Discovered that the journey might have been the destination all along, and the destination might be just another starting point for a different kind of suffering. But you're here, you survived, and somewhere in these creeks, in these claims, in this frozen corner of the world, there's gold, there has to be. Because if there isn't, then what was the point of any of it? You don't have an answer, not yet, so you just stand there. On the shore of Dawson City, at the end of the Chilkoot Trail, at the beginning of whatever comes next, a survivor of the past that froze 1,000 prospectors. One of the lucky ones. Or maybe one of the cursed ones. Time will tell. For now, you're just alive. That's enough. It has to be. The first thing you notice about Dawson City isn't the gold. It's the smell. Mud. Sewage. Thousands of unwashed bodies crammed into a space meant for hundreds. The streets aren't paved. They're rivers of muck. Your boots sink 6 inches with every step. The city of your dreams looks like a nightmare built from canvas and desperation. You ask about claims, about where to stake, about where the gold is. The man you ask laughs, not a friendly laugh. The laugh of someone who's heard this question 10,000 times, from 10,000 fools who arrived too late. Claims, he says, all staked, every creek, every stream, every patch of dirt that might have gold, been staked since '96. You're 2 years late, friend. The gold rush is over. You just didn't get the memo. You stand there, in the mud, in the stink, in the realization that's slowly crystallizing into something cold and hard in your chest. You cross the Chilkoot Pass, climb the golden stairs 26 times, built a boat with your broken hands, nearly drowned in rapids, nearly froze in blizzards, nearly died 100 different ways, for nothing. Here's the historical truth that nobody wanted to hear. Of the 100,000 people who set out for the Klondike, only about 30,000 made it to Dawson City. Of those 30,000, only about 4,000 found any gold at all. And of those 4,000, only a few hundred found enough to justify the journey. The rest went home broke, or stayed in Dawson broke, or died broke. The math was brutal. By the time most stampeders arrived, every productive claim had been staked. The easy gold was gone. What remained required industrial equipment, hydraulic mining, companies with money, not individuals with shovels and dreams. You spend 3 days walking the claims, looking for opportunities, finding none. Every creek has a sign. Every stream has an owner. The goldfields are occupied territory. There's no room for latecomers. No space for the thousands still arriving every day, all with the same shocked expression, all realizing the same terrible truth. You could work for someone else, dig in someone else's claim for wages, $10 a day if you're lucky, $5 if you're not. After 4 months of suffering, after everything you invested, after everything you survived, you'd be an employee, a wage labourer, the exact thing you were trying to escape when you left Seattle. At night, you sit by a fire with other latecomers. Nobody talks about gold anymore. They talk about going home, about admitting defeat, about explaining to the people who told them not to go that they were right. That conversation is somehow worse than the journey, worse than the cold, worse than the climbing, admitting failure to the people who predicted it. Some men aren't going home, can't afford passage, spent everything getting here. They're stuck, trapped in Dawson, working whatever jobs exist, saloon workers, porters, labourers, living in a frozen city built on gold they'll never touch. You do the math on your own finances, the money you spent on supplies, on passage, on the tramway, on boat materials, on everything. You're almost broke. You can afford passage home, barely. If you leave now, if you don't eat much on the journey back, or you can stay, try to make it work. Find a claim someone abandoned, work for wages, hope something changes. Hope luck finally decides to visit after ignoring you for 4 months. You make a decision, you'll stay. Not because you believe you'll find gold. Because going home means admitting the entire journey was pointless. Your pride is stronger than your sense. It's kept you alive this long. It might kill you yet. You find work on a claim 5 miles from Dawson. $10 a day. 12 hours of shoveling frozen gravel. The owner made his fortune 2 years ago. Now he's making more fortune off the labour of men like you, men who crossed mountains to become employees. The work is brutal, different from the Chilkoot Pass, but brutal in new ways, repetitive, endless, meaningless. You dig, haul gravel, dig more. The ground is frozen solid. You have to burn fires to thaw it before you can dig. Burn, wait, dig, repeat. Progress measured in inches. Winter arrives in October, real winter. The kind that makes the Chilkoot Pass seem gentle by comparison. The temperature drops to 40 below, 50 below. The air hurts to breathe. Your lungs freeze with every inhale. Your eyelashes frost shut. Your beard becomes ice. Here's what the historical record shows. The winter of 1898-1899 in Dawson City was catastrophic. Food prices skyrocketed. Flour cost $100 for 50 pounds. Beans were 50 cents each. Individual beans. Scurvy broke out. Typhoid. Dysentery. The hospital overflowed. Men died from diseases with names and diseases without. The cemetery filled up fast. You survive on wages and stubbornness. Eat less than you should. Work more than you can. Your body, already broken from the journey, breaks further. Your knee that never healed gets worse. Your hands develop frostbite. You lose feeling in 3 fingers. The doctor says they might have to come off, might not. Depends on luck. You're getting tired of things depending on luck. In December, the claim owner announces the mine isn't producing. The gold has run out, he's closing operations, everyone's fired. You're unemployed in Dawson City in winter. This is how people die. Not dramatically, not heroically, just quietly. Freezing in a tent because they ran out of money for fuel. You find another job. This one pays $8 a day. 6 days a week. It's enough to survive. Barely. You live in a tent with 5 other men. Share body heat. Share food. Share the growing realization that you made a terrible mistake. That everyone who came here made a terrible mistake. That the gold rush was a lie we told ourselves. A collective delusion. A fever dream that turned into a frozen nightmare. But you can't leave. Not now. Winter has closed the passes. The Chilkoot is impassable until May. The river is frozen solid. You're trapped. Stuck in Dawson until spring. Stuck with your choices. Stuck with the consequences. The sun disappears in November. Doesn't set exactly. Just stops rising high enough to matter. Twilight at noon. Darkness the rest of the time. The long dark of the Arctic winter settles over Dawson like a blanket made of despair. Men lose their minds. Not all at once. Gradually. You watch it happen. The guy who talks to himself starts with muttering, progresses to full conversations, then arguments, with himself, then violence against himself. They carry him away. You never see him again. The saloons stay open 24 hours. Because time stops having meaning when the sun doesn't rise. Men drink, gamble, fight, spend money they don't have on temporary warmth, temporary forgetfulness, temporary escape from the reality that they're stuck in hell, and hell has a layer of permafrost. You don't drink, can't afford it. Instead, you work, sleep, work. The routine is numbing, comforting, keeps you from thinking too much. Thinking is dangerous. Thinking leads to questions. Questions like, why am I here and what was the point, and was any of this worth it? You don't have answers, neither does anyone else. So everyone just keeps moving, keeps working, keeps surviving, because the alternative is giving up. And giving up in Dawson in winter means dying. Simple as that. In January you receive a letter. It's been following you for 6 months. Caught up at the Dawson post office. It's from home, your family. They want to know if you're okay, if you found gold, if you're coming back. The letter is dated July, 7 months ago, a lifetime ago, before you knew the truth about gold, before you learned what suffering really means. You don't write back. What would you say? That you're broke? That you're broken? That the journey destroyed you for nothing? That the gold was already gone before you even left Seattle? That everyone who told you not to go was right? You can't write that, so you write nothing. The silence feels like lying, feels like cowardice, feels appropriate. May arrives. The ice on the Yukon River breaks with sounds like cannon fire. Huge sheets of frozen water crack, shift, float downstream. The breakup is violent, beautiful, deadly. Every year, someone tries to cross the ice during breakup. Every year, someone drowns. This year is no exception. You've made a decision. You're leaving, going home. You lasted 1 winter in Dawson. That's enough. More than enough. You're alive. Broken, penniless, and permanently damaged, but alive. That's more than thousands can say. You book passage on a steamship. Use the last of your money, the same money you were supposed to turn into gold. Instead, you're turning it into transportation away from your mistakes. Seems fitting. The ship leaves in June. You stand on the deck. Watch Dawson City shrink behind you. Watch the goldfields disappear. Watch your dreams become smaller and smaller until they're just a point on the horizon. Then, nothing. Other men stand beside you, all heading south, all broke, all broken. Nobody talks about the gold they found, because nobody found any. They talk about the gold that got away, the claim they almost staked, the opportunity they barely missed, the lies we tell ourselves to make failure taste less bitter. You don't lie, you just stand there, silent, watching the Yukon slip past. watching the wilderness you fought so hard to reach become something you're fighting to leave. The journey back takes weeks, down the Yukon, across Alaska, by steamship to Seattle. The route is familiar. The you making this journey is completely different from the you who left 14 months ago. That person believed in easy gold, believed in adventure, believed hard work guaranteed success. This version of you knows better, knows that the mountain doesn't care about your work ethic, knows that nature doesn't reward courage with gold, knows that sometimes you survive everything and still end up with nothing. Seattle appears through the morning fog, the same dock where you left, the same buildings, the same smells, everything exactly as you remember it, except you're different, fundamentally, permanently. The Chilkoot Pass changed you in ways that can't be changed back. You walk down the gangplank, your knee barely works, your fingers, the ones that didn't freeze off, ache constantly. Your body is 30 years older than your actual age. That's what the doctor said. You've aged 3 decades in 14 months. He sounded impressed, like it was an achievement. Home is the same. Your family is there. They ask about the gold. You say there wasn't any, not for you. They don't push. They can see it in your face. The toll, the cost, the price you paid for nothing. You try to return to normal life. Find work. The factory will take you back. Same job, same wages, same future you were trying to escape. Except now you know that escaping isn't possible. There's no easy gold, no shortcut, no mountain you can climb that leads to anything except the other side of the mountain. At night, you dream about the golden stairs, the endless climbing, the cold, the wind, the line of men moving up, always up, toward a summit that didn't have gold at the top, just more cold, more suffering, more stairs to climb on the way down. You wake up, remember where you are, the factory, Seattle, safety, warmth. You survived. That's supposed to mean something. You tell yourself it means something, but here's the truth you can't escape. The truth that follows you into every shift at the factory, every meal, every moment of every day. You survived the Chilkoot Pass. You climbed the Golden Stairs. You crossed Miles Canyon and Whitehorse Rapids. You endured a winter in Dawson that killed men tougher than you, and you have nothing to show for it except scars and stories nobody believes. Years pass. The gold rush becomes history. Dawson City becomes a ghost town. The Golden Stairs melt into regular mountain slopes. Nature reclaims what thousands of men tried to conquer. The Chilkoot Pass returns to silence. But you remember, every day, every step you take on your bad knee, every time your fingers ache in cold weather, every night when the dreams come, you remember. Here's what the historical record shows. Of the 100,000 who set out for the Klondike, about 70,000 turned back, never made it past the mountains, never saw Dawson, never learned the truth about the gold. Maybe they were the lucky ones. Of the 30,000 who made it to Dawson, most found nothing. Returned home broke. Some stayed broke. A few hundred found fortunes. But thousands found graves, died in avalanches, drowned in rapids, froze in tents, starved in winter. The mountain took them, added them to its collection, kept them. The real fortune wasn't the gold. The real fortune was surviving, coming home, living to become old enough to tell the story, to warn the next generation, to say, I climbed those stairs, don't. But warnings don't work. They never do. Every generation has its gold rush, its mountain to climb, its impossible thing that looks possible from far away. And every generation learns the same lesson, that the mountain doesn't care, that nature doesn't negotiate, that sometimes you do everything right and still lose. You're 60 now, sitting in the same house you left 40 years ago. Your knee still hurts, your fingers still ache. The dreams still come. The golden stairs still climb through your sleep, always up, never reaching the top, or reaching the top and finding nothing. Both dreams end the same way. You wake up. Your grandchildren ask about the gold rush. You tell them the truth. No gold, just cold, just suffering. Just the largest mass delusion in North American history. They don't believe you. They see the photographs, the thousands of men climbing. They think it looks like adventure, like glory, like something worth doing. You know better, but knowing doesn't help. Because the mountain is still there. The Chilkoot Pass still rises. The golden stairs are still carved into history. And somewhere, someone is looking at it, calculating, wondering, thinking, I could do it. I could climb that. I could find what others missed. They can't. They won't. But they'll try anyway, because that's what humans do. We see mountains and we climb them. We hear about gold and we chase it. We face impossible odds and we push forward anyway. Not because we're brave, because we're stubborn, foolish, desperate, hopeful. The Chilkoot Pass taught you that hope is the most dangerous thing you can carry. Heavier than supplies, more crippling than frostbite, more deadly than avalanches. Hope is what got you up those stairs, and hope is what destroyed you when you reached the top and found nothing. But here's the thing about hope, the terrible, beautiful, impossible thing. Even now, 60 years old, broken and scarred and permanently damaged, even knowing everything you know, even having lived through the nightmare and survived to tell the tale, if you could go back, if you could be 25 again, if someone offered you another chance at the golden stairs, you'd take it. Not because you think you'd find gold this time, because the mountain is still there. The challenge is still real. The impossibility is still calling. And some part of you, the part that climbed those stairs, that survived that winter, that refused to quit when quitting was the smart choice, that part never left the pass. That part is still climbing, still hoping, still believing that the next step might be the one, that the summit might hold answers. That the suffering might mean something, it doesn't. The mountain taught you that, but you climbed it anyway, and that, not the gold, not the glory, not the fortune, that's what matters. That you tried, that you failed, that you survived, that you lived to tell this story to anyone who'll listen. And maybe, just maybe, someone will listen. Someone will hear this story and decide not to climb their own golden stairs, not to chase their own impossible gold, not to trade everything for nothing and call it adventure. Or maybe they won't listen. Maybe they'll climb anyway, make the same mistakes, learn the same lessons, become the same broken, scarred, permanent monuments to human stubbornness. Either way, the mountain wins. It always does. It's still there, still waiting, still cold, still impossible, still calling, and somewhere. Someone is listening, someone is packing, someone is leaving, someone is about to learn what you learned, what thousands learned before you, what thousands will learn after, that the Chilkoot Pass doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares that you keep climbing, step by frozen step, until you reach the top, or until you don't. Either way, the stairs remain. The mountain endures. The gold, if it ever existed, waits for the next fool desperate enough to believe. You close your eyes. The dreams are coming. The stairs are waiting. You'll climb them again tonight, like you do every night, like you'll do every night until the final sleep comes. And when it does, maybe you'll finally reach the summit. Maybe you'll finally find what you were looking for. Maybe the mountain will finally answer the question you've been asking for 40 years. Was it worth it? You don't know. You never will. But you climbed. You survived. You lived to tell the tale. And in the end, that's the only gold that matters. The story, the scars, the proof that you were there, that you tried, that you refused to let the mountain win without a fight. The mountain won anyway. It always does. But at least you fought. At least you climbed. At least you lived to wonder what would have happened if the gold had been real. If the dream had been true. If the Chilkoot Pass had led somewhere other than back to where you started. Sleep comes. The stairs appear. You start climbing. One more time. Always one more time. Forever. The Chilkoot Pass claimed over 100 lives during the gold rush. thousands more were permanently injured. Of the estimated 100,000 who began the journey, only 300-400 found enough gold to justify the cost. The golden stairs remain. The mountain still stands, and the ghosts still climb, step by frozen step, forever reaching, never arriving, always hoping, always climbing, always learning too late that the journey was the destination, and the destination was just another beginning, of suffering, of survival, of stories that nobody quite believes until they try it themselves. If you enjoyed this journey through history's coldest nightmare, drop a like. Subscribe for more stories that let you experience history's darkest moments from the comfort of somewhere warm. And let me know in the comments, would you have climbed the golden stairs, or would you have been smart enough to stay home? Sweet dreams, and stay warm.